Greetings, peace and love. Welcome again to the NEPPC podcast. I'm Brother Frank, and usually you see when Brother Abdul Haq Islam, former political prisoner. He should be on shortly. Right now, I'm producing this live episode in Brooklyn, New York. I had some things I had to take care of, but it's always important that we make time to talk about our political prisoners, to just make sure that discussion is raised regularly because we can't forget our political prisoners. Just the other day, the United States celebrated Memorial Day, right? Those who participated in various wars throughout a number of years for this government were recognized. We, as the Black community, we have our own heroes that we need to recognize. These are martyrs and these are political prisoners, past and current. People like Martin Luther King, he was a martyr as well as a political prisoner. And we need to recognize and salute his sacrifices to change the mindset of people in the struggle to change the social conditions of the people. So, we have Martin Luther King. We also have Marcus Garvey. He was also a political prisoner. And he also made sacrifices for the greater good. So those people, those brothers and also sisters should not be forgotten. People like Sojourner Truth, people like Fannie Lou Hamer. Fannie Lou Hamer was an organizer. She was an advocate for our human rights. And she understood that what needed to be done. She organized people. She was advocating for what she knew was correct. And she was willing to give so much of herself. And we need to recognize her sacrifices. And because of her incarceration, she was tortured, just like our political prisoners now. Kamal Siddiqui had to struggle to get his medication. Brother Ed Poindexter, his part of his leg was amputated because of his battles with diabetes. And we know that wasn't something that just happened in a moment's notice. It obviously was something that was not taken care of properly. And that's because of him being incarcerated. Because if he was amongst his people who had a number of resources, and now in the world of the internet, we could all exchange ideas a bit more often, and we could have scientific breakthroughs perhaps a little bit quicker than if we did not have the internet. And I think that, that's very important for us to look at that, because we can't allow our political prisoners, those who sacrifice so much, to continue to be tortured with medical neglect, to be tortured even with social neglect, right? You're being forgotten by people that you fought for, by them not talking about you, them not writing you, and you suffer. You might not have it admitted or broadcasted in any way, shape, or fashion, but you're experiencing that, because just like we experience that pain when we're forgotten by family members, people who are dear to us, people that we love, people who we, in a moment's notice, we're ready to step up, accept responsibility and the challenges. So our political prisoners are just like us, and we need to think about them when we are engaging with various activities amongst our family, when we are just doing anything that's geared towards the state of mind of Black people. When you see various injustices happening, and when you see people standing up, you say that these are our current political prisoners, or these are possibly our future political prisoners, because there's somebody somewhere looking at what's going on and not actually speaking on certain matters, but they know that they have to take a position, or they have a point of view, and that point of view to go unheard is not going to help anybody. So they speak about it first, and they exchange and dialogue. And from this dialogue, consciousness is raised. From that point, a person decides how far they're willing to go. And that's all about association. Who are you associating? Who is saying what? What? These are questions that we have to ask ourselves. And that is the very important point of this podcast being brought to you on a weekly basis, so that we can take a stand on what's correct. So we could decide that we must take action, that we have to be active, we have to be consistent with us being active, because that's the way you control the narrative and you control or influence highly a culture of a people, right? Our culture is our way of life, and it's something that's passed down from one generation to the next. You know, I have a discussion with loved ones, in particular my son, and talk about are you not willing to fight for black people? And he said yes. So I was attempting to raise his consciousness about the importance of fighting, and I encourage all parents to do so. And that's just as so being with political prisoners. All our children be encouraged to write our political prisoners. These are real heroes, right? We we stand in line, we get amped up about talking about these superheroes, these fictitious characters, and trying to act like this is a conversation that we need to have a serious understanding about, that we need to go real serious as far as knowing who can do what and who did what at what particular time. Knowing these facts does not change our reality. So when we think about the amount of time and effort that we put into knowing about those fictitious characters, we got to ask ourselves, what about our reality? Who are our heroes? Who are characters or people that are worth talking about? You have people like Kamal Siddiqui, Ed Poindexter. You got a sister like Joy Powell, and so many more. We need to talk about who they are, what they did, and why did they do what they did. And these are real heroes. You know, they walk around doing what needs to be done because they're motivated by something that's very deep, principle, right? Because our political prisoners, as we talked about before, many of them could have been home already if they would have compromised with the state, if they would have admitted to something that they didn't do, if they would have worked with the state and given the state what they want. And I think that this is important because it shows integrity. It says, if anybody that you are going to salute and give praise and recognition to, you have to give them that based on what they stand on. And that's why when we talk about our political prisoners, you know, we're talking about people who stand on principles, people who in any circumstances could have been dealt with in a different way, right? They could, if they would have said what the state wanted them to say, then they would be home with their families. And I know certain family members don't understand this principle because they miss them. They miss them dearly. But we got to ask ourselves, you know, this world that we live in, this world that we experience some benefits off of because of the sacrifice of how did we get that, right? You look at the work day, you look at a number of things that came into being because of the sacrifices of others. And now you say that my family member has this level of struggle. I should deal with that with honor. I should respect that. The opportunity to be honored in a way where I should not put a whole bunch of pressure on his family member about, you know, the choice that they made, because they made a choice not about their immediate family, but they're people who look like them, people who are out in the world experiencing life, uh, experiencing life on a day-to-day basis, and wanting change, wanting better change, wanting further commitment to doing what's correct and what's best. And it's very important that when we deal with the idea of a political prison, we come from that perspective. We have to honor them through writing, right? Last Thursday, I had an incredible experience. That was the first time that I came together with a community and we wrote a serious letter. Everybody was in their own zone. We listened to Veronza Bauer's incredible CD, which also featured Rev Love. I got to give her credit. She did a remarkable job with putting that together, utilizing her resources and making sure that it was available on all streaming platforms. And we all wrote to this brother. We all got deep into ourselves and made that commitment about writing to this brother. And it was an incredible experience because it was a collective effort and it was an expression of a collective love. And that's why, you know, moments like that are very important because we can't underestimate our power as a people, as a collective. We have to commit ourselves to this type of action. We have to commit ourselves to carrying on these ideas, and we need to do what needs to be done on a regular basis. Political prisoners should be recognized in all the households of oppressed people uh, at in the United States and abroad, because of we look in Africa, we look at brother like Steve Biko, brother like Patrice Lumumba. You know, those brothers were political prisoners. Those brothers became martyrs, and we should not forget them. So that's why when we see this, the United States recognize their soldiers who gave their lives for the cause of the United States, we got to look at our soldiers who have given their lives for the advancement of a people. You know, we have to understand what is committed to that.
Black Power.
Hey, brother, peace and love.
Yeah, I was wondering if you
Black
can see
Power,
me.
I'm
Yeah,
sorry, brother. That's my fault, man.
No, it's all good, brother. It's all
you on
good.
now, brother?
Oh, you can see me. Okay.
Yeah, brother.
Yeah, I was wondering.
Yeah, I can see you. I can see you and hear you, and I feel you, brother. Cause you always a
And-
fiery speaker. You always coming
and the
what needs to
people-
become with, became with.
Yeah.
Because the people
Yeah,
need
you
to
know,
be recognized.
we talk about.
So go ahead, brother.
We talk about educational moments. You know, the enemy unwittingly provided us with something that we can use for education, you know, and the way that he miseducates us about remembering people. You just mentioned remembering our political prisoners and not forgetting them. The enemy wants us, a couple of days ago, we had Memorial Day. On Memorial Day, the enemy would have us celebrating our own colonization, would have us celebrating colonizers, you know, those soldiers, you know, who went around the world and were baby killers and baby murderers, you know, people who murdered dark-skinned people to steal land, labor, and resources. You know, they say that we should remember them, but we say that we should remember our political prisoners. You know, the audience out there can see the stream going across the stream of names of our political prisoners, and you can write them down and write them, you know, and instead of remembering those who put on a uniform for the devil, America, and went around the world murdering dark-skinned people, you know, instead of celebrating our own genocide, you know, it makes more sense for us to remember people like Mutulu Shakur. You understand? Very, very strong soldier, a brother who risked his own life, throwing his body over Herman Ferguson's body when the Klan was shooting in the church. They had a rally in the church, and the Klan was shooting. He threw his body over Herman Ferguson's body. You know, Joy Powell, you understand, who fought against police corruption, you know, who fought against police terrorism, you know, Jalil Muttaqin, expert organizer, Imam Jamil Al-Amin, you know, formerly known as Rap Brown, you know, who was, you know, a real nightmare for the system, you know, a brother who brings brothers and sisters out of their slavery to their lower animal desires, you know, and, you know, did work like cleaning up the drug scourge in the West End of Atlanta. You know, Noah Washington, a brother I did time with, who after prayer, after the regular obligatory prayer, he would spend an hour on the prayer mat praying to his Lord, you know, and he was a teacher. He taught spirituality, you know. These are brothers and sisters who contributed much to us. Hassan Shakur, who is alive and well, and the FBI can go to hell. You understand? A brave female soldier, you know, and others. You know, these are people and, you know, remember the uprisings. You know, those brave Africans who were enslaved, who rose up against the colonizer. You know, these are the things that we should be memorializing, you know, and not the enemy. Don't be memorializing the enemy. You know, they have us acting real crazy, real silly. You understand? You know, and you know, those people who went around the world fighting for the colonizer, fighting for imperialists. You know, Brother Malcolm say, if they stupid enough to do that, just leave them alone. You know, and I mean, you know, it'd be good to erase a lot of them folks out of our memory. You know, and remember those who are the truly friends of our people. You know, we gotta be, as Coltrane Shimarenga say, we gotta be crystal clear on friends and enemies. You know, very important. You know, so you know,
absolutely,
yeah,
because you know, one of the things that I was mentioning prior to you coming on is that our children recognize like fictitious characters like Superman, Batman, and Incredible Hulk. They need to spend more time.
Right.
Parents need to spend more time educating their children on real heroes, our martyrs, the people like Malcolm, people like political prisoners like Mumia Abu-Jamal, and a number of books that he wrote, and how this understanding about real heroes, it gives you a different relationship to the hero as well as to what's going on, because we got to raise our children's consciousness, and we got to, people are standing in line for these new heroes. I mean, these new superhero movies that's coming out, you know, every summer. You know, we need to have our children write to political prisoners and let them know that these are real heroes. They need to be recognized and never forgotten.
Yeah, I made a note of that when you mentioned that fiction. You know, the everything that the enemy gives us is a fiction. You know, the miseducation is a fiction. You know, we are our own educators. You know, we must educate the people to what is real. You know, I'm glad. You know, I'm glad you made that statement. You know, running around here,
absolutely, because
trying to be Superman.
Sometimes we come on this and we repeat ourselves, but we have to, because we are fighting certain ideas that are detrimental to our development as a people. And in order to fight those ideas, we have to attack them consistently.
That's right, brother. You know, ideas. You know, one idea that we got to fight is, you know, they try to portray our heroes as criminals. You know, when they no bigger criminal in the history of the world, you know, than this system of white supremacy, you know, has murdered more people than any other system in the history of the world. You know, that's the reality. You know, and they sell us a fake, false fiction about some folks going around the world, you know, fighting for good. You know, having a heart of gold. You know, you understand? When the reality is the exact opposite. So whenever you deal with reality, you know, you will be more successful in life. You understand? When you walk, and then when you run around in a delusion, you know, framed by an enemy who wants to own your mind, wants to own your whole being. You understand? And wants to dictate how you think and how you act. We think and act for ourselves, you know, and our political prisoners, you know, those who stood up against this very violent enemy, you understand, are a treasure to us. You know, we must love them and respect them, you know, and it is an act of honor for us to support them, you know, and stay in touch with them, you know. Let them know that they're not forgotten. Let them know that they're appreciated, you know. And indeed, for us to be strong, courageous, and fearless, you understand, you know, in the spirit of Brother Fred Hampton, you understand, of the Chicago chapter of the Black Panther Party, and his son Fred Jr., who continues to carry out that magnificent work, you know. we got to carry it on. Be strong in everything we say and do. And never give in. Never, you understand? Never submit and fall down to the ground. You understand? Looking the ground for the enemy, pouring dust on our heads, saying that we inferior. No, we are a beautiful people, a magnificent people. And among the magnificent is those who sacrifice, who stood up for self-defense for our people. Black power was called free them all.
Absolutely, because and that's why it's very important that when we have continuous discussion on our political prisoners, because of our political prisoners being so strong for us and making that commitment to fight on our side. Our political prisoners did not get paid for the work that they done. They were driven by principles. They say that they detest the conditions of Black people, and they say that the state is responsible for the conditions of Black people. So they had to stand up to the state, and the state responded the way the state does respond, and that's why they have these lengthy sentences. And they did what they did on our behalf, which is organize people, which is advocate for people and fight for people. They did that on the behalf of those who were in physical existence at the time, and those were coming into physical existence at another time. And that's what we have to remind ourselves. We have to say, what's our position regarding how we relate to our conditions? Are we in compliance with our conditions? Do we co-sign the state's action towards people who are exploited and oppressed? Or do we stand on the side of those who are organizing, those who are striking back, those who are raising the consciousness of the community? In doing so, we have to remember our martyrs. We have to remember our political prisoners. And the best way we can remember them is by doing the work that they did when they were not in prison. But they are still doing work. Why? Because they are advocating for their release. They are saying, I'm innocent. They are saying, I'm still standing on the side with our people, and I encourage others to fight. And I think that we need to be reminding of that. Brother, when you took a stand as a political prisoner, you listening?
Yeah. Loud and clear. You hear me?
Yes, I hear you, brother. It just went to audio now, so I don't see your picture. But being that you can hear me saying what I'm saying, I just wanted you to respond from your personal experience as a political prisoner. When you decided to be a political prisoner, what was the response, or rather, when you decided to be active on the behalf of oppressed and exploited people, what was the response of your family?
The response was by my family?
Yes.
Oh, they were supportive. They understood. A lot of them wasn't, 1,000% politically educated, but they understood. That knowing me all through the years, I've always been a rebellious type person, and they showed me love, and they could dig it. I've always, did a lot of reading, and the history of the enemy, knowing the nature of the enemy, knowing his tricks, his tricknology, and they know that I was going through that political development, and me becoming incarcerated because of my activities was something that can happen, and they supported me. They showed me love. They visited me, sent me commissary and letters and everything like that, So yeah, it was beautiful. I did then and still have a beautiful family relationship.
Yes, I have to bring that up because being that you're a former political prisoner, it makes our podcast more real, more relatable, because we're talking to somebody who is behind the walls because of their political stance. And I think that people need to hear that first-hand account, so they are reminded or made aware of what's going on with our political prisoners. Our political prisoners are not amongst us, and their experience should be brought to us, so we have an idea of what they're going through. So we have some level of compassion, and that's why I salute you for your continuation on fighting the fight. Right? So some people get incarcerated, come home, and decide that they did their time, quote unquote. Some people are participating in political matters or struggle for power of people and decide that 2 years is enough, 5 years is enough, 10 years is enough, 20 years is enough. There's few that take it beyond that and say, I love my people to the point where I'm going to give the duration of my life for their liberation. And I think that, that has to be looked at an entirely different level. Just like our political prisoners need to be looked at an entirely different level. We got to make the statement that, our political prisoners are committed wholeheartedly. Our political prisoners are extremely courageous. And that courageousness should be saluted. It should be something that it circulates in the community. The only way we can circulate that in the community is by doing what me and you are doing right now, brother, is having dialogue. Right? We put out this podcast every week,
spreading
half an hour.
Spreading information.
Information. And that's why we have to steal from the those who are not on the side of our political advancement as a people. People who put together these superhero comic books, people who put together these superhero movies, right? They make sure that there's nowhere you go where you don't know about this upcoming movie.
That fictitious music.
Yes, exactly. So they make sure it's available everywhere. And that's the same thing we got to do, right? If you could produce a flyer, put it in your lobby of your building. If you could produce a sticker, stick it somewhere where people see. If you have the means to produce a shirt, make a shirt. Have a shirt of a political prisoner on it, so people see wherever you at, and they ask questions. What you about to say, brother?
I said, brother, it's very, very important that we communicate strong ideas among our people. The enemy would have us to give up, would have us to compromise, would have us to do be very, very unprincipled, and accept little trinkets, pennies, for our sell our character for pennies, but we through our communications, build strength and honor and principles among the people, and one principle that you mentioned that we, as a revolutionary circle, that we always emphasize is never give up. You said there are those who have given up, who do not have the iron will, do not have the warrior spirit to continue. So they say, 2 years is enough, but we have a revolutionary slogan that has very, very great meaning in our lives. Never give up, and which means that we are very, very committed. We're very, very, we love what we do. We understand what we're doing. We understand the plight of our people. We understand that the enemy is a devil. You understand? And that you got to fight hard, which means, that you never give up. That you throw your punches with a killer instinct. You understand? You throw death blows at the enemy. You understand? And this is the revolutionary way. This is the way of the political prisoner. You understand? And we have to continue spreading strength among our people, because we have lived a very, very horrible history, as Attorney Roger Warren said, we see horror movies, and the reality is much, much worse than any horror movie that we ever seen, whether it's Frankenstein, the Wolfman, Dracula, Godzilla, or whatever it is, So against this enemy, we must stand up and never give up, You know, and we must repeat the call over and over and over again to free our political prisoners. What is the call? Spread the word. Free them all.
Free them all, brother. Free them all. Free them all. Free them all, brother.
Your audio
All
just
right,
went down a little bit.
Huh?
Your audio just went down a little bit.
All right, brother. We're going to shut it down. All right, man. Peace.
Nice up. Yeah.
All right, brother. So what's
so y'all, you know, we mention them names. The audience out there, we mention them names. Look them folks up. Read their history. You understand? And communicate with them. You know?
Yes. All right, brother.
You'll be glad you did.
Signing off to next week, man.
All right, Black
Peace.
Power. Y'all got ready to get up out of here. All right.
What's
Free them all. Free them all.